How to send LinkedIn connection requests like a pro in 2025 and beyond. But first, how to know what is a bad example of a connection request. And I have a couple of right there. So the first example is the famous I would love to connect technique. I think this is very bad and I'm going to explain to you why. So in 2025, in 2015, sorry, like people they started to use LinkedIn automation tools. And the problem with automation tools is that these days in 2025 and beyond, like now it's a very basic technique and people everyone knows that. And so when you receive this kind of message, the prospect would assume that it's just a generic um, connection request, and because of that they will not accept it, and most people they don't accept such connection requests. Then if I go to the next example, which I will call the placeholder technique, it's clearly, again, another automation tool. Hey, Honor, I noticed your work as a co founder. You see, it's a capital letter. Who would put a capital letter if it was not a viable in a LinkedIn automation tool? Add breakcold. So clearly, those two are clearly viables right there. Anyway, and then would love to connect. So that is very bad. You should never do that. So why? Because if you look at the data from automate LinkedIn automation software, the question usually is, should you actually send a LinkedIn connection message or not? And to be fair, like from the LinkedIn automation softwares, the findings is that on average, connection invites don't have a note, connection invites that don't have a note perform 10% better than the ones with a note. And so that way, don't use the add a note buttons, but only send without a connection message. Um, because if you do send with a note, you really have to be on top of your game. And so, in that regard, now I'm going to show you examples of good connection messages on LinkedIn. So the first example is to look at the LinkedIn description of your leads, and you see this guy Max here. So he say, "Hey Arno, had a look on your profile. Pretty cool that you jumped from being a training lawyer and then to cold outreach, etc., etc." So essentially, I know that it was at least legit and that the guy was generally interested, and also it was a potential lead to me because he was having like some offer that is b2b. But essentially I know it was legit because the guy looked at me at my profile, so I accepted it. Another good example, and this time it's one that I've made, is that if you know prior someone and you really want to guarantee that the person accepts your connection request because maybe you saw them at an event, maybe you talked to them through with a cold email, but it was a week ago and people might forget you, but you really want to make sure that they do remember you. So in my case, you see, for my software, when people sign up on my software, like I use pretty much the same sentence, which is "so you tried Bracol," and it just works. Like these days, there's not even like "Hey Andrew," it's just like "so you tried Bracol," and that's it. But essentially, if you want to like kickstart the conversation to make it even warmer, what you can do is to also look at the profile of your leads and to add some layer of relevancy or some layer of personalization if it makes sense to just make the things warmer again. And you see here, I live 1 year in Scotland. Edinburgh was lovely because I noticed that the guy was living in Scotland. And because of that, he accepted my connection request. And not only he talked to me about like the fact that he tried my software, but also he responded about the Scottish part. And so he kickstarted a whole conversation, both on the business side and also on the more like shallow, shallow, like more like chill aspect. And then he became a customer at some point. So this is pretty much in a nutshell how you can send good connection request messages.